Do you find yourself saying yes when every fiber of your being wants to say no? Do you over-explain your decisions, apologizing for having needs, or feel responsible when others are disappointed? If someone asks you for a favor, does no feel like it's not even an option in your vocabulary? If this resonates, you're not broken or weak. You're likely experiencing people-pleasing patterns that many women develop as a survival strategy. So today we're exploring why saying no feels so impossible, the compassionate roots of people-pleasing behavior, and most importantly, how to break free without feeling guilty or selfish. This is part 5 of our Emotional Sovereignty series. I'm here to help you flow from approval addiction to authentic living, honoring both your caring heart and your own needs. First, let's understand that people-pleasing isn't a character flaw. It's often an intelligent adaptation to early experiences. Many women develop these patterns because they learned that love and acceptance were conditional on being helpful, accommodating, and never causing problems. Childhood conditioning taught you that your worth was tied to how much you could give or do for others. Conflict was dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. And good girls don't have needs or express disappointment. Your job was to manage other people's emotions and comfort. Cultural expectations for women often reinforce these patterns. Women are supposed to be naturally selfless and nurturing. Having boundaries make you selfish or mean. Your needs matter less than everyone else's needs. Saying no is somehow unfeminine or kind. And fear-based beliefs that often drive people-pleasing are, if I say no, they won't love me anymore. Or I'll be rejected or abandoned if I'm not consistently helpful. Or I'm only useful when I'm useful to others. Or disappointing someone means I'm a bad person. These patterns develop for very good reasons. They helped you feel safe, loved, and connected. Your people-pleasing isn't evidence of weakness. It's evidence of a heart that cares deeply about relationships. While people-pleasing might have served you in the past, it often comes with costs that aren't immediately obvious. For example, resentment and exhaustion. When you constantly say yes to others, you're implicitly saying no to yourself. And this creates a backlog of unmet needs and hidden resentment. Another one is inauthentic relationships. When you're always accommodating, people don't get to know the real you, your preferences, your limits, your authentic personality, the real you. Overwhelmed and burnt out, and taking on more than you can handle leaves you depleted and unable to fully show up for anyone, including yourself. When you're so focused on others' needs and reactions, you can lose touch with your own desires, your own values, and intuition. Attracting takers. People-pleasing often attracts those who are comfortable taking without giving back, creating unbalanced relationships. The beautiful irony is that when you start honoring your own needs and setting boundaries, you often become a better friend, a better partner, a better family member, because you're showing up from fullness rather than depletion. Let's talk about why a simple 2-letter word can feel so terrifying. When you've been people-pleasing for years, saying no can trigger your nervous system as if you're in actual danger. Your brain might interpret saying no as a threat to your belonging and connection, evidence that you're selfish or mean, a risk of being rejected and abandoned, proof that you don't care about others. Physical responses you might notice when considering saying no: heart racing or chest tightness, feeling sick to your stomach, overwhelming guilt or shame, panic about potential consequences, mental responses that make no feel impossible. What if they think I don't care? What if they're angry or disappointed? What if they don't ask me for help anymore? What if this ruins our relationship? Here's what I want you to understand. These responses are normal for anyone who learned that love was conditional on accommodation. These responses are normal for someone who learned that love was conditional on accommodation. Your nervous system is trying to protect you based on old programming. You can learn to say no with love. You can disappoint people and still be a good person. You can have limits and still care deeply about others. One of the biggest people-pleasing traps is feeling like you need to justify every no with elaborate explanations. But here's the truth, and I can tell you this because I've been there. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a dissertation on why you can't or you won't do something. Simple scripts that work. For requests you can't accommodate, I won't be able to do that. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. When you need time to decide, let me check my calendar and get back with you. I need to think about that before I can commit. Can I let you know tomorrow? For reoccurring requests, I've decided not to take on any new commitments right now. That's not something I'm doing anymore. When guilt tripped, I understand you're disappointed. My answer is still no. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear, but I can't change my mind. Notice that these scripts don't include long explanations about why you can't, apologies for having limits, offers to do something else instead, unless you genuinely want to, justifications about your schedule or your circumstances. When you start saying no, some people will push back. This is especially true if they've grown accustomed to your unlimited availability. Here's how to navigate this. Common pushback responses. But you always help with this. I really need you. Can't you make an exception? I thought I could count on you. You're being selfish. How to respond without caving. I understand this is different from what you're used to. My decision hasn't changed. I know you need my help. I'm not the right person for this right now. You can count on me to be honest about my capacity and about what I can and can't do. I care about you and I'm not available for this. Managing your own guilt. Remember that guilt often shows up when you're doing something different, not necessarily something wrong. The guilt you feel for saying no is often less intense and short-lived than the resentment you'd feel from saying yes when you meant no, or when you wanted to say no. Reframe your thinking. I'm not responsible for managing their disappointment. I can care about someone and still have limits. Saying no to this means saying yes to something else that matters to me. Healthy relationships can handle my boundaries. Speaking of building the confidence to honor your own needs, I want to offer you something that can support you daily in this journey. It's my free daily self-care checklist with affirmations. It includes specific affirmations for recovering people pleasers and gentle reminders to check in with your own needs throughout the day. You can grab that in the description below. One of the fears that keeps people stuck in people pleasing is the worry that having boundaries will ruin their relationships. But here's what I've observed. Authentic boundaries actually improve relationships by creating space for genuine connection. When you stop people pleasing, people get to know the real you, not just your accommodating persona. Your yes becomes more meaningful because it's freely chosen. You attract people who respect your autonomy and your boundaries. You model healthy self-care for others. Your relationships become more balanced and sustainable. Signs of authentic versus transactional relationships. Authentic relationships can handle your boundaries and disappointment. People in healthy relationships want you to take care of yourself. True friendships don't guilt trip you for having limits. Authentic connections feel energizing rather than draining. The beautiful truth, when you start honoring your own needs, you discover which relationships were based on what you could do versus who you are. The relationships that survive this transition become deeper and more genuine. By the way, I'm Gwen Jones, and I offer heart-centered content that guides you from reactive patterns to intentionally designing a life that's aligned with your purpose through mindful wellness practices. With my psychology background, I understand how deeply ingrained people-pleasing patterns can be. And I'm here to help you heal these patterns with compassion while building authentic, sustainable relationships. Healing people-pleasing patterns isn't about becoming selfish or uncaring. It's about learning to care for yourself with the same devotion you've shown others. It's about discovering that you can be loving, both loving and generous and self-honoring. Your worth isn't determined by how much you can do for others or how rarely you disappoint anyone. You are inherently valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you can provide or accomplish. Learning to say no is actually an act of love. Love for yourself and love for your relationships. When you're honest about your capacity and limits, you show up more authentically and sustainably in all areas of your life. Remember, you don't have to earn your love through endless giving. You don't have to be available to everyone all the time to be a good person. You don't have to sacrifice your own needs to prove you care about others. Your recovering people-pleaser journey might feel uncomfortable at first. Guilt might show up. Some people might be disappointed. And you might question whether you're being too selfish. This is all normal and part of the healing process. You deserve relationships where your needs matter too. You deserve to show up authentically instead of accommodatingly. You deserve to flow from approval addiction to genuine self-love and healthy relationships. Be sure to grab your daily self-care checklist below. Remember, it's free. And make sure you're subscribed because next week we're exploring how to handle criticism without falling apart. Perfect for those of us learning to value our own opinions as much as others. Remember, your authentic self, complete with needs, limits, and preferences, is exactly who the world needs. Until next time, keep flowing in serenity. Be sure to check out this next video. Until next time, remember you are deserving of love and respect.